please reach out to John Reedy at the BCTC with any questions, or someone who has a business within Wilson School District wants to bid on that. There's a pilot program for the BCTC plans a pilot program where seniors would come to BCTC for either their senior year or the second semester to learn basic skills that would carry over on the job training and or continuation of BCTC's adult education program. So this pilot's with one of the other schools, but there seems to be some slots that are open that if there are interested students, they can go into this as well. We will pilot this program with Hamburg with potential slots for other districts if available. If a student has completed their core curriculum for graduation, there's a potential that they may be able to take courses for a full day at BCTC their senior year. So please reach out to Dr. Kraft for more information. I'm almost done. So the 2019-2020 tentative BCTC budget was adopted by the Joint Operating Committee during the last meeting. Approval for the individual school boards is the next step, and we should be receiving that this week. So for our next board meeting for Wilson, we should be voting on that. Wilson's proportionate share is roughly 7% of the 18 school districts, and the amount our district is expected to pay will actually decrease $45,000 based on the 3-year average number of students. That's it. Thank you.
Did I see an article about the welding shop? Did they receive a grant or something recently?
Yeah, they've been receiving grants.
Yeah. That's great. It's picking up some traction. Dr. Kennedy, IU and curriculum, please.
BCIU met last Thursday. The biggest news to come out of the BCIU was a PA Smart Advancing Grant at almost $500,000, $494,368. And that grant was won in combination with an actual former Wilson teacher, Mr. Charlie Travato, and a former Wilson principal, Dr. George Fiore. And they got this grant, and it's to help STEM education and to build STEM supplies that will be used through all 18 school districts. But that is a huge, huge grant, almost $500,000. As far as the curriculum committee, we have a meeting on March 19th at 4 o'clock in Dr. Amy Flannery's room.
Thank you. Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman, anything? Okay. Under extracurricular, we actually still have some winter sports participating. So as an update, our boys basketball team, currently at 22-5, will open their first round of state play this Saturday versus Pine Richland at 4:30 at Milton Hershey, if you'd like to go see that. Our boys bowling team is 35-4, and they were the BCIA team champions and the Eastern PA regional champions. And both our boys and girls swimming teams are both still 13-0 and the District 3 champions. So they had a great weekend in the pool and unbelievable results, so congratulations. And believe it or not, as is typical of our weather, we opened up spring sports today with 6 inches of snow on our turf and fields and everything else. So we'll probably be inside for a little bit, but competition will start in the next couple weeks. Facilities, Mr. Negrini.
To schedule a joint facilities and finance committee meeting, more so as a workshop. It's tentatively next Monday at 5 o'clock, depending upon Mr. Martin's availability, that we may change that. But nonetheless, the topic of conversation is the potential relocation of the varsity baseball field currently over at West to back on the main campus. As we have discussed many times before, it creates a shortage of opportunities for boys baseball with that field currently over at West. So we will discuss the feasibility of relocating a varsity field back on the high school campus, discuss the differences in potential cost of that relocation, grass versus turf options, lights versus no lights, and then with the Finance Committee, the possible ways upon which that project, if recommended to move forward, could be paid for. So It's an invitation, obviously, to all of the board members to be fully informed so that if and when that matter comes before this board in a public meeting for a vote, you are well informed. So we'll finalize that particular date hopefully in the next 24 hours and get that advertised.
If I understand correctly, Mr. Agreement, is that tentatively set for March 18th?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry, did I say next week? Yes, March 18th. Again, waiting on Mr. Martin. That's my report.
Thank you. Finance, Mr. Ehrlich.
The only report I have is the Finance Committee met this afternoon in executive session to discuss a tax matter, which ultimately may come before the board.
Okay.
That's my report.
Thank you. HR, Mr. Hart. Report. Legislative, Mr. Martin.
Just a couple of things. The budget is progressing. They've been having the hearings. And actually, it should go fairly smoothly. The one hang-up is the minimum wage from $7.80, wherever it is, up to eventually $15. There's some concern about that, and I think it'll be a compromise. So I don't think there'll be a big delay in the budget this year. One of the concerns with the increases going up to 15 is it's almost 2.5 times what inflation was. And one of the comments is, what are we doing for the elderly? They're kind of stuck with a CPI increase that's minimum. So I think there's going to be some push and shove back, but overall I think it's going to be an easy year for the budget. Also, the Independent Fiscal Office was requested by 4 senators to review got the act number now, for the property tax, the state of property tax. There's bipartisan support for this. We don't know exactly where that's going to go, but one of the conditions is that school districts will be able to still pass on debt financing for facilities up until January 1st of this year. So that's one of those things they're looking at now. So you would be grandfathered back into as long as you do anything after January 1st of this year. The only other thing is, I thought this was of interest, and I don't know much about it. There's going to be a global task force set up by the Senate to review Pennsylvania's approach to global economics and education. There are some concerns that we're falling behind in those areas. It's going to be a task force. You know how task force go. This could last 10 years. But anyway, that's something new that just popped up. That's it.
Were you referring to SB 76 with the legislation?
Yeah.
So previously you'd mentioned that it hasn't been on the table, but now they are bringing it back to the table.
Because there's bipartisan support now, Judy Swank is a big supporter, not of, you got to be careful when you say 76 because it's not going to look like that, but people may know that as the name, but it's going to be totally changed, but yes.
Okay. Thank you. Public Relations, Ms. Troutman.
Thank you. I have a couple items to share under Wilson Good News. We want to congratulate Devanshi Patel, who is a senior at Wilson High School, for receiving recognition in the Scholastic Arts and Writing Contest. Devanshi received a Silver Key Award for her poem, Woman of Color, and she also received an honorable mention for her short script, By the Will of the Gods. So congratulations to her for that outstanding achievement. We also would like to recognize the fact that Next Gen Personal Finance recently named Wilson High School as a gold standard school. We are one of only 887 schools in the United States to receive this designation. The award is earned for giving our students access to personal finance courses, and the Reading Eagle actually reported on this designation in yesterday's newspaper as well. Just a couple of items under public relations. As a school district, we always look for different ways that we can partner with our families to provide timely and pertinent information. And I wanted to tell you about an event that's coming up that will do just that. This Thursday, March 7th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Wilson West Auditorium, Teresa Detweiler from the Council on Chemical Abuse will be presenting an educational program entitled Vaping and Juuling: What Parents Need to Know. Teen vaping and juuling has reached epidemic proportions, according to the Food and Drug Administration, and the attendees at this event will learn more about this new trend and the impact these electronic cigarette devices can have on our youth. So we've been promoting this event to our families actually for months now, and surrounding districts have also been promoting it as well, so we're hoping for a good attendance at that event this week. And I don't want to steal Mr. Russo, who is our student rep's thunder when he's going to talk a lot about Minithon. But I just wanted to say, We are so proud of our students and our staff and our community for how they came together once again for an incredible, incredible Mini-thon event. Our students, our staff, they worked tirelessly throughout the entire year to raise money for this great cause. But the best thing is, it's amazing how our entire community comes together to raise an incredible amount of money, and I'll let you report how much, for this common goal. So I just want to say again, it is just, and I have the pleasure in my role to work with the student reps and their advisors throughout the year. Let me tell you, they're amazing, and we as a school community can be incredibly proud of what we were able to do for this great event. So I'll let you report the final amount. So thank you.
Thank you. Wilson Education Foundation, Mr. Case.
News, there is still time to get your tickets for the 6th annual Wilson Iron Chef competition and benefit auction to be held Sunday, March 24th from 1 to 5 p.m. Adults are just $15 and students are $10. Tickets at the door are an additional $5. You can still purchase first taste tickets for $25 as well. Wilson Iron Chef is a fun community-wide event that brings together Wilson students, parents, faculty, administration, local organizations, and restaurants. The Wilson Education Foundation and the Wilson School District were thrilled with the success of the 5th annual event, which had 1,000 plus people in attendance. Restaurants will vie for your vote with samples during the People's Choice competition, and additional food vendors will offer tasty treats. All food samples are included with admission, and you will not leave hungry. So enjoy student performances, auditions, auctions and raffles. So tickets, restaurant information, volunteer and sponsorship opportunities can be found on the Wilson District website. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Technology, Mrs. Cocker.
No report.
Okay. Student outreach, Mr. Russo. We're anxious to have you.
Yes. There's a much larger crowd than we're used to. There's usually very few faces, probably the front first rows. You're probably wondering who's this kid sitting up here and why does he get a chair and half of us have to stand. But so I'm the student representative to the school board, and my job, as with Ms. Strautman's, is usually reporting good news, acknowledging some student events and future events that are coming up. I kept my report brief. I know a lot of you are anxious to speak, and also a lot of the events have been touched upon. But 2 Sundays ago, many of you may have heard, the Wilson Mini-thon announced at 6 a.m. Sunday, February 24th, this year's total of money raised for the Four Diamonds Fund. The current count is now $93,000, or $93,152 and 30, or $93,152 and 38 cents. Maybe I need to go back to math class.
Outstanding.
And that, with loose change being accounted for as we go, that number will only trickle higher. So hundreds of community members, hundreds of students, middle school students, were able to make this event possible. Donors, family members across the country that donated to students' accounts. This year we had over 360 high school dancers alone, making this, in terms of dancers, our largest mini-thon ever. And judging by the amount of community members we saw come out, it was probably one of our largest in that respect as well. All of this money will be donated to the Four Diamonds Fund to ensure 100% of pediatric cancer patients at the Penn State Hershey Medical Center receive the assistance they need. Their goal is to make sure that those who need treatment never see a bill, and we're doing our part, and we can hopefully continue to do that in the future. Another thing I'd like to acknowledge, the Wilson JROTC, one of our largest clubs on campus, was recently featured in a 69 News article and report as they held an event to write birthday letters for a veteran who is turning 100 years old. All this is one veteran. It's an example of some of the small events that our JROTC will carry out throughout the school year to honor our public servants. In the future, they're hoping to recognize EMS, firefighters, even more, and including those they've acknowledged in the past. Some other updates on JROTC later this March. They'll be holding their annual military ball. Although this event is not open to the public, it's an event for the JROTC to give themselves a pat on the back for the work they've put in this year. Students are encouraged to wear their uniforms, so it really is a military ball. So that'll be later this month. These last 2 things were touched upon already, but despite several inches of snow, spring sports started this year. I think I missed baseball and softball up there, but they were out there practicing. And then on top of the wonderful performance by the Wilson Theater Company. They'll be premiering Les Mis, not this weekend, but the following, with shows Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all starting at 7:30, I think, and tickets are available online for pre-purchase. It's a popular show, so I'm sure you'll want to get them.
Great. Thank you again, and congratulations. I think this is the second year in a row you've exceeded $90,000,
Yes,
correct?
yeah.
It's just amazing that a group of students came together and did that. We're very proud of you. Thank you. Yes.
The JROTC, the campaign to write the birthday, that actually made the national news. I actually saw it on the national news before I saw it on Channel 69. I guess he had asked for his wish for 100 was to receive 100 birthday cards for his 100th birthday. He was a veteran, and of course he received thousands and thousands, and our JROTC contributed to that. So it was great to see it on national news.
Amazing. Thanks again, Chris. Mr. Maravich.
No report.
All right. At this time, we will move on to other business from the board. Anything? Okay. We do have some public participation. Do you want to go over policy with that again, or?
I'll just briefly say it's 3 minutes. At 1 minute, I will show 1 minute. It is not question and answer, but instead is an opportunity to provide information to the board. And as I discussed earlier, the board cannot comment or respond to any issues regarding personnel issues that are outstanding.
Okay. First, we have, in no particular order, Ashley Filer.
Sorry, 1 second.
Sure. We didn't start it yet.
Okay, wonderful. As you just said, hi, I'm Ashley Filer. I'm a junior in Mr. Meyer's AP Calculus AB class this year. And for the past 2 years of my high school career, I've listened to my upperclassmen friends tell me these amazing stories about what an incredible teacher Mr. Meyer is and how much I'm going to enjoy his class once I actually get there. But I didn't really understand until I got to work with him personally this year. If I could describe Mr. Meyer in one word, it would be passionate. Passionate about not only his subject, but his students. And he is able to make a class as difficult and intense and demanding as AP Calculus exciting, to the point where I and many other students are eager to come to class in order to learn what he has to teach us, which is a lot. I mean, we can all agree that Mr. Meyer is one of the most qualified people to teach AP Calculus in the region. And it's for this reason that many of us are concerned about his absence and, in turn, the measures that are being taken in order to try to support us through this time period. So our AP Calculus exam is coming up in about 2 months, meaning that we do, in fact, have 2 months more worth of curriculum to cover before we can take the exam. And without a qualified teacher such as Mr. Meyer, we're concerned that we won't be prepared for this exam. Now, granted, as Mr. Trickett said earlier, we have been provided in the past week other certified math teachers to teach the class. However, these teachers have made it clear themselves that they are in no way qualified to teach such a high-level course. For example, we have an AP statistics teacher who has made it clear that he does not have the necessary experience in calculus, and Mrs. Boyle, who has been taking over the class, while she has had calculus experience, has not studied it in a very long amount of time. While we do recognize that these teachers are here to support us, we think that it's just not going to be enough. We're worried that since these teachers don't have the necessary experience, we're unable to tackle these difficult problems in class that are very likely to appear on the AP exam, which could, in turn, threaten some of our scores. Not threaten, but put them at risk. However, it's not just about the exam. There's also the matter of class grades, which are now also at risk. Every single person in Mr. Meyer's AP Calculus class is a high-achieving student, always striving to be the best that they can be and challenging themselves. I personally was top in my class last year in 10th grade, and now as juniors, I know I speak for a lot of my classmates as we're looking to apply to colleges next year, and a lot of us to very selective colleges. And a bad class grade could tarnish the GPAs that we've worked really hard to maintain and need for these college acceptances. So for this reason, I understand that there must be a legitimate reason for why Mr. Meyer was suspended. But I also understand that it's the school board's and the school and the district's responsibility to support its students. And I believe full-heartedly that they have their students' best interest at heart. But in order for us to best succeed, I think at the very least, in order to succeed in class, in the exam, and in our futures, we need Mr. Meyer, who is an incredible teacher and not to mention just an incredible person in general, to come and finish the remainder of the year for our AP Calculus class. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dr. Stephen Chmielewski. You look familiar.
Yeah. Actually, that was most articulate. I'd like to commend you. I'm here because of Mr. Meyer's absence from AB and BC Calculus. As many of you know, my son Mark graduated from Wilson last year. He's an electrical computer engineering major at Pratt School of Engineering at Duke University. I sat on the Curriculum Council for a number of years and was very concerned about mathematics in Wilson. I'm still very concerned about mathematics in Wilson, although I have to say at this point in time, I'm pressing the panic button. Because the saving grace of mathematics at Wilson School District was Doug Meyer. And if you look at your records, you will find that he had more 5s in AB and BC than any other teacher in this district. And if you do your homework and you look at what colleges are looking for today in terms of rigor in AP courses, guess what's number 1 on the list? BC Calculus. That's it. Followed by AB, followed by chemistry, followed by physics. Foreign language they like too. Now, I'd like to remind all the voting members of this board that you took an oath of office. Okay? I would like to remind you that the mission statement of this district is empowering children for their goals. We've done an excellent job of that over the past 10 years. It's not looking very good now. You had one hole at the beginning of the year in AP Computer Science. That's a mission-critical course for an engineer. You'll find out that when your high-achieving students go off to the Dukes and the Stanfords and the Harvards and MITs, that every kid in California has been taking Python and is fluent in that language from 4th grade. I haven't seen a replacement for that, nor any plans. That's all I have to say.
Bryn Underwood.
Good evening. My name is Bryn Underwood, and I am a junior here at the high school. This year was my first time taking AP classes, and I was really nervous when I was signing up for 3 of them. But in each of my classes, my teachers have been so supportive of me and my classmates, one of these teachers being Mr. Meyer. Mr. Meyer has not only been a close family friend for many years, but he coached my brother, my sister, and myself in track and cross country. I credit all of the successes that I've had in running to his selflessness, his eagerness, and his dedication to see me and my teammates succeed. And it is no different in the classroom. His absence from AP Calculus has made a huge impact in our classes, as our level of learning has been minimal for over 2 weeks. With the AP test coming in about 2 months, we are frantic for a teacher that is qualified to prepare us for it. As for track, today marked our first day of practice. and after fighting for weeks last year to have our distance coach back. It's disappointing to see that Coach Meyer will not be with us yet for another year. As a school who sets high standards for both athletics and academics, removing Meyer makes it undeniably difficult to live up to those standards. Why are we fruitlessly searching for a qualified teacher and a coach when there is one sitting at home willing to take that position? Please try and make the best decision for your students and let Mr. Meyer come back for the year. Thank you for your consideration, and I know that you'll put the students' best interest in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Siddharth Agramal.
I would like to reiterate that the suspension of Mr. Myers, as my fellow students, fellow other people said, it is not in the best interest of the students, and we should actually nurture such talent. I don't know what's the reason, but I think just hiring just because, even if you consider reinstatement, just bringing back just because AP Calculus exam is nearby, that should not be the reason. Such talents like this should be nurtured, and he should be considered as an asset to the school district. Thank you.
Talia Spillerman.
Good evening. My name is Talia Spillerman, and I'm a junior here at Wilson High School. Tonight, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on the suspension of Mr. Meyer. Currently, I am in AP Calculus AB, which up until 2 weeks ago has been taught by Mr. Meyer, and I've ran 3 cross-country seasons and 1 track season coached by Mr. Meyer. First off, I want to make it clear that Mr. Meyer did not ask any one of us to come here tonight. We are all here because we want the school board to retract the suspension of Mr. Meyer, a teacher who is essential to the Wilson community. Being a student in the Wilson School District since kindergarten, I have been taught by many teachers here at Wilson. In fact, many of these were good teachers, even great, but very few have been outstanding. Mr. Meyer is an outstanding teacher. For as long as I can remember, I've never truly enjoyed math. I've just tolerated it. But for the first time, I actually don't count down the seconds until the math period ends. Just to clarify, I'm not saying AP Calculus is not difficult, but thanks to Mr. Meyer, for the first time, I enjoyed the challenge. Mr. Meyer leads by example. He expects his students to put in the hard work it takes to be successful, while he himself puts in the time to guide our success. Before 2 weeks ago, Mr. Meyer had never missed a calculus lesson this year. He always finds a way to be there. A couple months ago, when he could not literally be in class, he videotaped 2 lessons so we could continue learning calculus, even without his literal presence. However, for the first time last week, I was able to say that I did not learn anything in calculus. While our substitutes have the best intentions, they do not have years and years of experience teaching AP Calculus and do not have an AP certification as Mr. Meyer does. Very few people do. Getting rid of a teacher essential to the Wilson community and the success of the students makes it seem as the school district does not care about its students, especially when this takes place in the middle of the school year. Now, I know the suspension was not unprovoked. If the facts I know are correct, he used other teachers' copy codes to make copies. But these copies were handouts for us, AP Calc students, to ultimately better our learning. I'm calling on you, the school board, to review the suspension matter and ask yourself, does the punishment fit the crime? Does eliminating an outstanding teacher for matters that were ultimately to help the students and better the Wilson community as a whole? Does the suspension of a dedicated teacher benefit the students? Please, when you ponder these questions, think of the entire Wilson community, the present and the future. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you reinstate Mr. Meyer.
I believe it is Talia Goldstein or Goldstein.
Hello. As most of what I wanted to say was covered, I want to address, so as you might very well know, most of the AP Calc students are very high-achieving students who work as hard as we can when we come into school in hopes of achieving scholarships and getting into our top choice schools. But up to 2 weeks ago, I as a student was struggling in calculus. Not because of Mr. Meyer, but because I had to learn how to study for calculus, and it was a different way of thinking. I had a D for the first 2 quarters, but with Mr. Meyer's help, I brought it up to an 88. I have worked so hard to get to this point, and now, as of 2 weeks ago, I come into school, and instead of being motivated and excited to do well, I come in with teachers who, although are trying their very best, and I appreciate them being sent down, are not qualified. Again, politely and respectfully, we are tolerating them at best because they are trying to figure things out themselves. They are not prepared to teach us right now. Mrs. O'Boyle has said herself that she is a tutor, and I have gone to her myself, and she's very helpful at tutoring. But she does not know the fast-paced rigor that Mr. Meyer knows, where he had every single day planned up day to day. When he was absent, he would make videos, so virtual Meyer was there, so we didn't miss a step. We have an exam in 2 months, and I was hoping to get a 4. The beginning of the year, I was thinking I might get a 2. Colleges are expecting 4s, and calculus is one of the only classes that we can count on that most colleges will accept. And we are not only looking at them to be accepted by colleges, but they are a skill. I'm looking at business that we need to be able to apply. To pass an exam doesn't mean anything after you get accepted into college. You need to know how to use those skills, otherwise the exam means nothing to us. I would really appreciate, I understand that there had to be sufficient reason for the suspension, but even if this has to be reconsidered at another time, if this could be reconsidered on May 17th after we take the exam, there is no one else in our perspective that is going to be able to take the course of action as efficiently as Mr. Meyer can, and losing 2 weeks. We should have been taking the next test maybe next week, and we are been on the exact same lesson for, again, the last 2 weeks, and normally that lesson would have taken a day at most. So I would, thank you.
Thank you. Tara Hoffman.
Good evening. My name is Tara Hoffman. Many of you have heard from me over the last several days. I'd like to thank you for your time tonight, and I'd like to start off by thanking the 3 board members that acknowledged my concern as a parent, as a mother of a student in Wilson School District. It meant a lot to know that my concerns and those of many of these families affected are not falling on deaf ears. I'm not here tonight to talk about Mr. Meyer. I'm not allowed enough time to provide him the praise he deserves for his teaching all of these years. I'm only here to present the facts as I know them and ask for your help. My child, along with roughly 100 others, willingly chose to take these AP classes. Many, like my daughter, only made this choice because the teacher had an excellent reputation amongst the students for his ability and willingness to help, and then help them be successful in such a rigorous class. These students have paid the money that's necessary to take the AP Calculus exam. And as of February 18th, they are no longer allowed to withdraw and receive a refund per district policy. Ironically, students returned from President's Day break the next day to learn their teacher would not be there that week, with little explanation. Ultimately, the timing and continued lack of information took away from these families' ability to make a decision in their best interest. As of February 26th, we were informed of the change in staff that we put in place during Mr. Meyer's absence. I'm sure these are qualified teachers. However, I do know that neither has had their own classroom as of recent, and definitely not an AP level class. They may be comfortable working with students in a small group setting, but to this place this level of instruction and these students' futures in their hands at this point in the year seems unfair to both the teachers and to the students. The students have been given the expectation that quizzes and tests will go on as usual, without the level of support that they have received all year from their original teacher. As a matter of fact, my daughter came home to me today and said, "We will have a test this week, and I've only covered 3 problems over the last 2 weeks in class." So from my perspective, they're being held to the same standard, but the district is not supporting them the way that they have been thus far this year. Interestingly, as well, Dr. Fadley just introduced a new initiative on his blog yesterday, A Nation of Hope, meeting the needs of a whole child. According to a national commission, it was stated that children learn best when we treat them as human beings, with social and emotional as well as academic needs. I don't feel that you are holding us to that standard. Which leaves me with a question that I've been asking for the last week, roughly, and many have chosen not to answer. Why won't anyone meet with us, the concerned families? What support are you going to give these students besides the current staff that was put in place? What are you doing to support the students as a whole? They can't be expected to cover 1 math problem per day and continue to be productive and pass the AP exam in May. Thank you very much for your time.
Lucia Gagliardi.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to my concerns tonight regarding AP Calculus. My name is Lucia Gagliardi. My son Christian is in AP Calculus. The last day of consistent instruction was on Thursday, February 14th. On Tuesday, February 19th, instruction in AP Calculus abruptly stopped, and student and substitute teachers were in the classroom. The students quickly knew something was not right. What you don't know is when Mr. Meyer is absent, he videotapes himself teaching, so the students do not lose momentum and continue learning the course material necessary for the AP exam in May. There is no such thing as a study hall in AP Calculus. As of last Wednesday, February 27th, Mr. Kaufman and Mrs. O'Boyle are instructing the class. District leadership has shared they are certified, experienced Wilson teachers, but are they highly qualified to teach the most challenging, rigorous math courses offered to your students during their high school career? I stand here tonight asking for your help. Please ask district leadership questions and seek answers to these following concerns. Talk to everyone involved. 1, why is Mr. Meyer not teaching AP Calculus? 2, what math courses have Mr. Kaufman and Mrs. O'Boyle taught? Have they taught AP Calculus? Have they participated in professional development, preparing them to teach courses of this caliber? 3rd, will the students be taught all the course material needed in order to be prepared for their AP exam in May? If your own child was an 11th or 12th grade student of Mr. Meyer, you would be asking the same questions and looking for answers. You would be wondering what is going on in a district who takes pride in being the best. On behalf of your students, I am asking for your help. Thank you for your time in a very disappointing situation for your students. Thank you.
Just like to thank everyone for coming, those that spoke for expressing your concern. It is a situation the board continues to evaluate and work with administration on, and we will try to communicate as soon as we have new information. Any other business from the board? Okay, with none, looking for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hart, thank you. We're adjourned.